I'm Kara, and welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. I believe that all of us possess unique gifts and talents that allow us to serve the world and our own growth in the highest possible way. Our lives are an expression of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And here, we will explore businesses, thought leaders, and topics designed to inspire, helping propel your own growth so you can live your best and most purposeful life. Welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. Welcome back. Today, I am thrilled to have my good friend, Leo Chen. Welcome, Leo.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I always look forward to our next conversation together, and this is better than anything that we could put together.
I totally agree. And for all of our listeners, Leo and I met, I guess, about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, through our business coach. And then we're in a mastermind together, and always just completely respected Leo. He has a different background in real estate, which is interesting. And we'll just dive into briefly here too. Started in the tech world, and really your background was mostly in the tech industry. So of course, whenever I have a tech question, I call Leo, help me. What does this mean? How do I do this? How do I set it up? And so it's just unique to have that type of background in real estate. And so I wanted to dive into that. And then for our listeners, just to give a little preview, we're going to be talking about some pretty world-changing technology that you're going to need to know about, because it is the future. And so, but first we're going to start with Leo and learning a little bit more about your background. So please share for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you, Kara. You're so kind. Depending on how far you want to go back, but I've had many careers, along the way. As a immigrant from Taiwan, I came to the States when I was 11, and so it was just a big old world just opened up to me. But I actually had started, having a job since I was 12 years old, doing paper routes and all that kind of stuff, and just it's never ever stopped. And so I've had. In my life, I've done many things that I'm very grateful for and had the opportunity to do, tech being one of the major ones as an adult. But I actually did not shoot for that. I was in college and was a piano performance major studying classical music. And
really?
And doing a minor in composition. And I was just completely fell in love with music. Later in life, I discovered it when I was just after high school, and wanted to figure out what I wanted to do in college. And that's what I ended up doing, and just had the love for the arts and have this music in my soul, if you will, the whole rest of my life, which I'm so happy and grateful for, and just kind of try to dance to my own tune as I go, but then realized that I was not making enough money in music, as most musicians and artists goes. Either you are just extremely out of this world talented, or you're very well connected and you knew someone that could give you a job in music that would make a really good living, or you could teach. And I didn't go into music wanting to teach, and so when I started doing that, I realized that really wasn't my jam. As a fallback, I always knew that I had a tech mind in me. There's always this math and science kind of a thing as I was growing up. And so I knew I always wanted to do that, but I resisted it for a long time. But then came 1995 and 1996. I'm dating myself a little bit. Sorry about that. All this internet personal computing revolution, started to burst. And it wasn't until probably about 97, 98, before the 2000s, when I realized that, what, I could go into tech. I can always make a living in tech. Let me go do that. And then I'll go figure out if there's a artist or music career, in me down the road. Let me get myself settled in. And next thing you know, I was in it for, 15 years. I worked for a interactive agency, which is like a modern day ad agency. A traditional ad agency is about print and about, branding and TV commercials and things like that. An interactive agency was sort of a modern day one where we did a lot of tech work. Everything is digital. And that was perfect timing because as we went into the 2000s, all the internet and the .com and all that stuff came about. And I just rode that wave up along, with that, and learned everything I could about tech and how it just really transitioned into the world we have now. And so that was kind of how I, entered that world. But having been in tech for so long, I literally beta tested every single Windows operating system, every Mac operating system, every for the techies out there, every Unix or Linux, operating systems out there, different phones and different connectivity, and built these networking infrastructure that was multi-sites in the data centers and all that kind of stuff. And so I got to learn a lot about the human side of it, as well as how companies are being marketed, how what ads look like, what a good marketing campaign looks like, what good brands look like, because I had to help all of my coworkers. I had to understand all that stuff in order to help them, because they would tell me they're trying to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, why do you need to do X, Y, and Z? And so that I could fix their problem, because without understanding what they need, it's really difficult to do that. So I had this well immersed experience throughout all that of marketing, around people, around fixing people's problems, and a lot 99% of it is people problem and not a technology problem. And so then
I'm proof of that.
Building a staff. Yeah. And so there's a lot of people, and that's not your expertise, right? And so you should just be that person that says, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's where I'm running to a roadblock. Hey, can you help me? And then on my side, it's just, having an understanding like, well, let me show you so that you can do things without falling into traps, and like, don't try to self-diagnose a lot of times, just to let the experts, do those things. And then it turns out as I, moved on into, real estate, all that stuff applied, the problem solving, the people skills, the marketing and all that kind of stuff, on top of some of the mechanical hard skills of tech, really all blended in. And that's where, I found that I was a little bit different than most real estate agents out there, because they didn't have that background. And some people have been in for 10, 20 years, are just barely trying to get on top of their email, because of the organization and how the systems will continue to evolve. And they are not able to keep up with it, because it's not their forte. Their forte is going out, showing homes, doing contracts, helping clients, and that kind of stuff. And so I can really, sympathize with, their situation. But because of that, real estate wasn't one of those industries that had kept up with everything. So I found a lot of things that were broken, things didn't connect. And I'm sure all the real estate agents out there are frustrated, with all this stuff that doesn't connect well. It's getting better, but I don't think it's nearly to the point where we need it to be, where we can do, our business that can't be replaced by tech. People skills, the hand holding, the in-person showing, the pointing out the inspection reports, and things that computers can do. So that's a little bit about my background, how I ended up here. And so but being in tech was a very interesting time in the world, and also a very interesting time for me.
Interesting. Well, and I love, I always love learning about the path, because I had no clue you were a musician, and a pianist. And, they say that, that mathematicians or that having a science background actually definitely helps the musicality and composing and things like that. So just interesting. I love learning that about you. And you're right. I think one of the things that's somewhat missing also just in how we market properties, how we, people go where you've got to go where the content is, where are consumers consuming content, and then create digital strategy around that. And tech is such a big piece of that. So for people that aren't really in tune with that, maybe they don't have to be an expert. Like I'm not an expert at it, but I know where to go to have experts execute on it, then you've naturally got that, which is really a gift for your clients and can really help you in your business. And I do want to touch on, because one of the things that we talked about just a few days ago, so Leo had shared with me some life-changing technology. I mean, really, would you say this is like one of the world-changing technologies in your view? Like we're experiencing it right now, or and for people that don't know what this is, so let me open it up. So it's called OpenAI ChatGPT, and basically AI has been in development for many years, but this is a very sophisticated tool that's now in beta testing, and they're rolling it out, and the magnitude of what it's able to do is pretty incredible. So I've probably butchered the explanation of it, but would you please tell our audience what this new technology is and why it's important for them to know about it for their business?
Yeah, I think just to preface it a little bit, which you've done a great job of already, but I'll just preface it real quick, just in terms of just getting people, oriented to what this is about, is that there are probably in all of my years in technology and in many things that I've been into, especially technology, is that I see that up to this point in time, we have three great revolutions that's happened in the last 25 years, is the internet. Of course, it's the easiest one to know because we are so integrated into the internet as far as what we do on a daily basis for everybody in the world. So that's number one. Number two is a little bit more recent, but actually started, around 2008, somewhere around there, which is the Bitcoin crypto technology. Okay, that is completely going to be revolutionizing, the world's finances. Okay, we're not quite there yet. We're still in this weird space. We're transitioning between having credit cards and things like that versus a completely independent type of currency that will revolutionize not only how we buy things, but how portions of things that we can buy with it, because you can divide it up in so many different ways. One Bitcoin, can be divided up into however minuscule pieces there are. And you can take that and buy pieces of other things. And this is not your question, but you can buy, traditionally for right now, you can buy real estate, and you pretty much, for the most part, have to buy the entire home, the entire condo, the entire property, things like that with Bitcoin and the technology. You can actually purchase portions of it like a stock. So that's the second major revolution that we had, and then this is the third. The third is the artificial intelligence technology, which we dub AI. And what's incredible is that it's been in development for a good part of the last 5 to 10 years, more so in the last 5 years. And because we have so much data that's being stored from all our interactivities with the internet, with our devices and all that stuff, all that data can now be used, for a artificial intelligence data machine, if you will, to assess all of that stuff and be able to intelligently give us answers. Basically, they'll be our middleman of the researcher researching all this stuff for you. And what's incredible is that they can do that in literally seconds. As opposed to us human beings, if we could go to research something, it might take us hours or days, and some researchers take years to research something, where they can crunch all this data, billions of terabytes of data, and be able to give us an answer. And so we already kind of have a sense of that already, just kind of through Google. When we do a Google search online, we type in something that we're asking how to create new accounts on our email accounts, right? And it spits out you guys all seen it. 10,000, returns, and it's going to try to rank them, and it's going to try to bring you up like the most popular ones at top, and then you have your ads on top where people might be selling what you need and that kind of stuff. And we all know we do this every single day, and as we get those returns, we might read through the first page and kind of pick two or three things that our minds can grasp on and say, oh, that's the answer I'm looking for. Maybe it's here, maybe it's there.
Right.
Well, instead of all that, we ask the question, and the AI will go out, sift through everything, and gives you the answer in return, okay, in seconds. And not only a short answer, but it could be a long answer, and it could get creative, and it could also put together different data sets of different type of stuff. One could be more emotional, like you can tell me a joke, but in the style of, say, Shakespeare. Right. But within that, tell me how the stars are aligned, so it can combine all these different ideas and then come up with a singular piece of article, a paper, or some kind of a movie script, things like that. So you can see already this power to be able to do that becomes limitless.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. I think actually you put in the other day, because you were demonstrating it for a few of us live, and you put in, I think the question was, you say, please write me an essay on racism in the 20th century in the style of, and I can't remember what you said, or was it write me a rap in the style of Kanye West on racism in the 20th century or something like that? I mean, and it did.
Yeah. and write it in the style of, what's incredible is I asked it to write it in the style of Kanye West or some other, famous rapper. And it knew the style of it to be able to do that. And we're just, kind of scratching the surface here of like what it can do, because we wouldn't, if I told you to write that, it would take you, who knows, days and months of, researching what the style actually is and how to write a rap, Right. But yet it's written something back to you based on your description, and it's completely unique, 100% unique. It's not something that, it, put together from data. It just, was building something from scratch, and, this is just kind of, again, this is the beginning. I mean, Google and the large companies have already been testing all of this AI in the background for years. But this is the first time, ChatGPT is the first time that they released it to the public for anyone to use, and we can realize the power of it. And this is why companies are spending billions and billions of dollars on research and development for AI, systems. And this is going to be our next wave of technological arms race, if you will, because whoever has the best data and has the best AI technology to be able to give us the best answer going to win. And uses are endless. And imagine everybody on the planet all have a virtual assistant right in their pocket on their phone.
Right. Well, I was even just thinking, I guess, you could probably ask it, what are the best flights around from, DCA to LAX? That depart at X time, and it'll spit out. It's basically your own kind of personal virtual assistant, which is pretty incredible. And then, as you mentioned too, the other thing about it is it's doing almost like a thinking, it's real new content. It's not spitting out old content, which is really the biggest differentiator between, you think of like a Google and then this type of technology.
That's right.
So another thing that I thought was kind of interesting, we were talking about the other day, was the type of applications to use in business, like as a solopreneur or owner of a small team, right? Even doing things like content-based marketing to be able to say, in real estate, to be able to say, write a property description for 123 Main Street and and then it writes you a property description. I mean, that's pretty incredible and powerful, just using it in a very, again, a small example, but yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless in terms of where this goes.
Right. I mean, you're exactly right. When we type in a search in Google, it just brings back data that's out there on the internet. Just purely data. It's not making up anything. It's just it's scrubbed through the internet to find articles and things that people have written or videos or audio out there and give you a result. AI in differentiation is that it will take what you're asking, bring back data and assimilate it together, okay, to give you a result. And we typed in, I think as an example, we typed in like, write me a Hollywood script, and it did. It wrote the characters. It wrote what the characters do. It wrote the the dialogues between the character. It wrote the plot. It wrote all that stuff, And so it's a really for right now. Initially, it's a great tool for us to experiment. It's still up to our creativity to think about what we want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It can only give us what we asked for. So we have to think about what we want. And very initially, as we're both in real estate, as real estate agents, there's so many things that we do that require a lot of time on our hands with marketing and branding and content and, even sales scripts or even, ads that we have to run nowadays, as real estate agents, for the homes for our clients, to attract more buyers and things like that. And now we have a tool where we're not saying, hey, this tool is just going to, give us 20 ads that are all going to rain money for us. We do still have to kind of be the editor of it, but it will give us ideas. I could literally ask it, hey, give me 50 ideas of what a Facebook ad headlines could be. It could, and then it would spit it all out. Then I can go see like, oh, I like this one. I like this one. Oh, that's a good idea, but I would change this word so that it's still unique to you. It's not, it's not a carbon copy, of what somebody else did, but that allows you, how many times have we all sat there like, oh, what video should I make today? And what should I say? What do people want to know? Right. And now you have this tool that can talk back to you and say, oh, this is what's popular right now. These are some ideas. And here's what's going on in the news. You might want to write something about this and that. So now we are unleashed, our knowledge to be able to like, oh, yes, let's do this. And it allows us to, instead of hours of putting together content, that we can maybe do it in, under, 30 minutes or something.
Well, and even one of the things you were sharing with me is that it can also create original images. So I would imagine, I don't know, because I haven't tried this one, but you could ask it to create a logo with a particular vibe or a particular, something that, so you can, again, kind of possibilities are endless. I think we're just playing with it. And so I think it's just interesting right now to see how this can be incorporated into our daily world. And a lot of our listeners are either entrepreneurs, business owners, and like I said, even just having like a life personal assistant to say, hey, what are the best things going on around the DMV or Annapolis for kids this weekend, and have it hold things for you, So it's like a really interesting little personal assistant. But I will say the other thing I think that it actually, to me, underscores as well is that, yes, you could use it to create a blog post, an article, but I think that infusing your own, as we get more techie, I also think that it's even more important to infuse intuition and creativity and your own kind of authentic person into the content, because that's what it's like you can use all these things, but then it has to be infused with something that feels and looks like you too. So it can save you time, but it's not going to like replace you, Right.
I think that's what everybody's fear is like, hey, oh my gosh, this is going to replace all of this and all that. No, things that human beings can do still are not going to be replaceable. I was having a conversation with our good friend Heather Robbins out in Oregon. Shout out to Heather.
Oh yeah, there's
and she said that the thing that we will never ever replace is that human interaction and touch, the care that we put into our clients, and that we are 100% fiduciary to their needs and goals and not our own. And yes. AI cannot necessarily decipher that or do that, or they can't go to a home and open the door for them, or look at the ceiling and say, hey, this is a great ceiling, or this may need some work and things like that. It just cannot necessarily do that. But you brought up a really great point, is that we're just scratching the surface on the text side of this technology. But there are so many other mediums that this could also translate. There's a tool out there called Tome, TOME.com, or .ai rather. You guys can just search it. If you're listening out there, you can play with it. What it does is it creates original presentations for you. So you can go in there and it's hooked up to an AI, and you type in the subject that you want. Okay, let's say I'm getting ready to do a presentation on AI, and I say, hey, build me a presentation on AI, for the 21st century, and it'll build 10, 15 slides for me. It'll create AI images that will correlate to the slide. Then the slide will have all the bullet points and all that kind of stuff to give you that skeleton already. So that's the next step, right? The first step is ask it questions for us to get a text response back. The second is ask it to build something for us in an image format, and it can build all these tools. I saw an example. Someone said, hey, give me an image of 3 elephants, one on top of the other 2. And that doesn't happen in real life, right? So it went and found what elephants look like, and what a baby elephant looks like. It put a baby elephant on top between the 2, and it's completely 100%, made up, but it just built that, in seconds. So the second step is that image, that static 2D image. And then the third step was be able to build a video, of someone talking that does not exist, right? You can give it a script and it'll actually do all of these things and talk through it like a real person, in a video format. Right. So now we're starting to kind of scratch the power of, what it can go on and on and on, like just tell it what to do and it can build it to us. So I think as human beings, we're going to unleash our creativity as what's possible, with assistants that can, put it all together and show us what it looks like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very exciting and fun to be even having this conversation and kind of helping our listeners also understand, how this can really help them save time. And as you mentioned, also kind of take you to some different creative realms with it as we explore it. So, so thank you for sharing that with us today. And since you are our Orange County expert on real estate, I'm just curious, what are you seeing now that we're in the new year in the Orange County market?
We're in a very, very interesting time in the real estate market. Over the last 6 to 8 months, of course, everybody has kind of felt the difference as things shift into sort of a more balanced market, but also that the interest rates being high, that there's a lot of psychological dynamics between sellers and buyers. And we have in Orange County, California here, we have a unique kind of a market because it is a kind of a metro, but very suburban of Los Angeles. And so we have a lot of families and people that live here that are family oriented. They love great schools, and we have the beaches, next to us, which draws, international visitors, all the time. And, everybody always think about, Real Housewives of OC, Laguna Beach and Newport Beach is, famed all over the world. And so a lot of people around the country want to live here. And so our demand continues to be high. I know there are other markets around the country that are seeing declines. Some in Texas, I hear, some in Idaho and Arizona, they're seeing some declines, but our demand continues to be strong because the inflow of people wanting the gorgeous weather, the beautiful beaches, and the lifestyle that we get to have here is just unbeatable. And so the demand is not going away, although people in Orange County want it to come down so that they can buy more real estate. But wishful thinking is not always reality. And but we also have a lot of people moving in from LA County because LA County is about 4 times more population than our county, around the roughly same geographic size. So for people who are not from around here, that's good to know because as far as traffic goes and the congestion and the amount of people that you live around is 4 times more. And so that kind of gives you an idea, like the relaxed lifestyle that we have here in Orange County. We never feel like we're, jammed in traffic to get somewhere. And it's just beautiful. We have built our county here around public parks, public amenities, and all the communities all have, beautiful resort style pools and gyms and things like that. So people come here, they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in some sort of a resort 24/7.
Yeah.
And so, and then last thing I'll say about, where we are here in Orange County, which makes it so desirable, is that we are minutes from the beach. We are, and roughly an hour and a half from the mountains. Right now we just had some rain, so there's a bit of snow in the mountain, and you can drive an hour and you're up in the slopes, and you can do some skiing or snowboarding. And then we have the desert close by too, which has its own beauty. And so so because of this unique access to everything, it's just really hard to leave here.
I bet. It sounds dreamy, especially when it's really cold here. It'd be lovely to be out in the beautiful sunny California weather. And I'm curious, so 2 things come to mind. Do you get a lot of second home properties in Orange County, or would you say, have you been seeing more of the drive as second homes, or are these primary homes as people are?
Well, good question. Measures? Yeah, excellent question. There's, I would say we always had a good amount of second home buyers here, because there are people from Northern California, in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, that have money but would like the lifestyle here of Orange County. So a lot of them have second home here, especially by the beach. But then also we just have more of everything. Through the pandemic, what has happened is we have more people who want to buy second homes. We have more people who want to live here other than the people who already live here. We have more people who want to invest in real estate here because they see how lucrative it can be. But a very competitive, market, because in the past we didn't have, we had more inventory before COVID, and then now we have more institutional investors that are all coming in, the big companies coming in trying to buy up big apartment buildings as well. So there's more competition. So I would say overall as a market, we just have more of everything. And with the weather that we have, it never stops. Like you don't take 2 months off, in the winter, because of snow. Everybody is working all the time, and everybody is investing and moving and buying and selling all the time. So we have a very, very, active market here. And so we still have very, very low inventory. We have probably a little less than toward the end of the last year as well, even more so. So we have probably about 20% of the inventory we normally have prior to COVID. Okay. So that's very low. That's very low. And people are, unfortunately for the first-time home buyers, they kind of get priced out, and they also have a hard time with prices of being up. And we have problems with tenants who are being kicked out of their place because their landlord may decide to sell the place. So there's quite a bit of people who are displaced, which is why we're working so hard, for all those people in need to have a home, to find the home that they want, at least get them toward the direction that they want to get to.
Yeah. You brought up some good points there too. I think one of the things you were mentioning is that a lot of people from LA County had been migrating as a result of COVID to Orange County. And I think what we've actually seen because I serve both the DMV and Annapolis, is kind of a similar interesting migration between people from the DC metro area that are kind of moving out. So we've got a lot of people moving out and wanting to have, live by the water or, kind of be in a little bit of a lower key lifestyle. But interestingly, we're also getting movement from like other metro cities like New York and actually San Francisco, because as tech companies come to DC. So it's interesting to see how COVID, still has far-reaching impact into the migration of people throughout the country. So very interesting.
Yeah. And I'll mention one thing about the market, which is super interesting, is because for second half of all last year, we're all been talking about shifting market. And it's still somewhat shifting. But now that we're in the new year, we have some new dynamics going on, because last year we were so focused on, getting inflation down, which was the whole reason of interest rate driving up. And now our inflation is starting to come down. So now we're kind of like in this weird transition place between, having really high inflation and having a little bit of a panic and into, hey, what's going to happen next? Right. Yeah. And so we've all seen interest rates come down in the last month overall, all the way up from 7.5% to the low sixes. And if you can still buy down rates, and you can still get lower rates if you are doing a VA loan, if you're doing an FHA loan, or some sort of program that could get you lower rates around the fives, somewhere in there. And so that's really good. Now we're in this zone around between the 5 and 6 interest rates that is tolerable, for people. The good news is that we already hit our peak as far as interest rates goes. We peaked at, 7.5, 7.6. And so the chances of us getting up to that, interest rates probably very unlikely in any foreseeable time. So hopefully we're going to get down around below the 6s, around the 5. And now we are in this market where people that can afford to buy, more of them can start, kind of getting homes that they want. But everybody's asking me, what's going to happen next? Hey, how is this year going to shape out? I'm still holding, on the fence about, should I be buying or not? Is the prices going to drop? And we had mentioned earlier already that prices have already come down in many areas, and we've flattened out a little bit, but in many areas, it already has come down 5 to 10%. So if you're looking to buy, it may not be good to wait, because if you did wait, we might start creeping up again as interest rates start to come down. And so you might kind of miss the boat, if you will. Yeah. So those are kind of what's going on here in the first quarter of 2023. And I still say buying sooner is a much better bet than buying later, because everybody learned that lesson, hopefully, in the last few years. Yes. I've had clients that had, didn't buy 4 years ago, didn't buy 3 years ago, finally bought 2 years ago, and then they were okay. But then I still unfortunately have clients who are like kind of still wanting to buy, and the prices just have run up so much that it's really hard to bear at the moment.
Yeah, I've been experiencing the same thing. And, I'm looking for a client right now too. And there's just, the inventory is so low. And what we've been seeing is, as you mentioned, interest rates have come back down. I was talking to a lender the other day, and, they're in the 5.5, like depending on where you are and depending on the size, in the 5 to 6 range, which is palatable and normal. And I mean, I've been in real estate since 2004 and they were in the sixes then, so these are not abnormal rates. These are kind of normal rates. But right now, I think a lot of buyers are starting to enter back into the market, and then combined with low inventory again, it's, I think getting in sooner and trying to figure this out before the spring market is probably a good thing for people looking. But this is always just interesting to chat and hear what's going on over there. And I know that for our listeners, if you ever need or looking for real estate in the Orange County area, have any questions, overall, Leo is an amazing human, most importantly, but also an amazing resource as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, I love this conversation. I love this conversation because we're on two different sides of the coast, but we have so much in common, and so many things that we're working with. Although geographically might be a little different, but we're all people, all wanting a better lifestyle, all wanting better lives for our family, a better home. Knowing all that stuff is great. And my advice to everyone out there is just have more conversations about real estate, what your plans might be. You don't have to buy, you don't have to sell, you don't have to do anything, but being in the conversation and just talking about it will help you decide what's the next best place for you to go, even if it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, or 10 years from now.
Yeah, that's great advice. So thank you for being here. And until we meet again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just so happy to finally be on. Your show is amazing and you have such great guests, and I'm just honored to be here.
Thank you. Loved being here with you today and would love to connect with you more over on Instagram. My handle is linked to the show notes, or you can just type in @KaraChafin_Donofrio. And I have something special for you as a free gift, my Dynamic Life Journal. This special book has the power to really help you live a soul-inspired life. Go to freegiftfromkara.com. Easy to remember, freegiftfromkara.com. Until next time, beautiful people, sending all my love.